if somebody is just tall because they're very leggy, like all their height is in their legs, probably not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you have somebody with like a tiny torso, like think of like Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc.
That's what I fantasize about, actually. So that's a great reference. Rabbit, happy Pride, and welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm the gay host, Andrew.
I'm a straight host, Laura.
And I'm also a straight host, Pam.
You actually both should have led with we're women, because it's very rare to find podcasts that primarily have women on the panel. Do you know this is like a real thing I see people talking about from time to time? Yeah. Yeah, podcasting is dominated by straight men.
I think it's just really my For You page that shows me a lot. Like, it's recently been showing me more female-led shows, which is great. But maybe there's like an influx.
Yeah.
Well, even if that's true, Pam, just pretend like we're the only female-led.
Right, of course. Well, Laura and I are the only ones that matter, obviously.
You two were definitely the first women podcasters, I think, in podcasting history.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, right. No.
Nobody started earlier than you two. And I was definitely the first gay one. This is, if somebody wants to prove us wrong, go ahead. Spend your time doing that.
Yeah. We'll claim that.
You can't tell me no that I wasn't the first gay podcaster during Pride Month.
It.
Yeah.
And I'll also, like, I'm happy to share the podium with Laura, but I'm also happy to be the second because I know that she was the first.
Oh my God. No.
We talked about this. We're on record that Laura paves the way.
Oh my God. You're too sweet.
When you said I'm happy to share the podium, Pam, I thought you were going to use another P word talking about women, but
I don't even. You know
How
what?
would you work that in?
Yeah. I don't know. The pussy podium.
Oh, well.
Again, I'm allowed to say that during Pride Month.
Happy Pride.
I know that we are at the beginning of Pride Month here, as I get a potential spam call. Excuse me while I dismiss that. That's definitely something I don't think makes anyone feel happy at the start of Pride Month. And something else that I don't think inspired anyone to feel cheerful was this poor doomed flight headed to Orlando. I don't say doomed because of anything horrific that happened. I just mean doomed to delays and every bit of frustration that you could imagine playing out in a scenario where a plane is like either circling an airport or stuck on the tarmac. And unfortunately, there's a moment from this flight that went viral. Y'all are probably familiar with it at this point. Somehow, a child ended up getting on the plane's PA system and singing a song from Moana that everyone was subjected to.
No matter how hard I try, every turn I take, every trail I track, every path I make, every road leads back to the place I know where I cannot go, where I long to be. See the line where the sky meets the sea. It calls me.
I thought that was one of you two singing first.
No.
How far it goes.
This was in flight. And Laura, I think you asked the $1 million question. Who let her do this? People are not happy with this. They're like, this is my worst nightmare.
That's really the thing. There's like the question of why the fuck would the flight crew allow this? But then like, why would they volunteer it? And then additionally, why would the parents allow this? This girl looks like, I can't tell. Like, is she 10? I don't know.
No older than.
Yeah. So she's very young and presumably she has some kind of guardian on this flight with her. And it's just shocking to me that that person would not think about this going viral. Because you have a plane full of pissed off people who've been sitting there on a multi-hour delay. And everyone's subjected to this singing, including anyone, by the way, who might have their headphones plugged into the in-flight entertainment system.
Oh, yeah. They can't escape it.
Yeah. So, like, there is no escape unless you have, like, personal noise-canceling headphones.
Yeah. And of course, all these people on board aren't going to yell at the child. So instead, they're going to take to social media and complaining about it instead. And that's how it ends up viral. Yeah, this would drive me nuts, especially if it was on a delayed flight. This is actually my recommendation for the week, and not just for when a 10-year-old girl is somewhat poorly singing a song for Moana. Noise canceling headphones on a flight are so important. I could not fly without noise canceling headphones. I don't care if that makes me sound douchey because I know noise canceling headphones could be expensive, but if you try them once on a plane, you will never go back to normal headphones.
It makes a big difference, even like when you're working out in public. Like the library is fairly quiet, and in general, I work from the library a lot because it's free. And I'll put the noise canceling feature on my headphones, and I don't even realize how much ambient noise you get in, like from just the air conditioning system going.
Yeah.
In the summertime, until I take them off and I'm like, wow, it was so much quieter. No wonder I was so focused, you know?
What always floors me is like halfway through a flight, I take my noise canceling headphones off just for like a break or maybe while I'm going to the bathroom. And I'm just like overwhelmed by all the sound all of a sudden. I'm like, holy shit, this plane is loud.
Yeah. Laura, I'm glad you brought up the significance of this girl being told she could sing through the PA system, because I think that's the real issue here, is that there was no opt out unless you had your own means of, you know, tuning out basically. And it's like, it's different if, say, the Broadway cast of Lion King singing on a plane, but it's like they're not on the PA system, they're in seats. So you could opt out even with in-flight entertainment if you don't want to listen to that. I think that's the big difference here, in addition to the fact that everyone was already disgruntled over being stuck on the tarmac.
And I'm sorry, if a 10-year-old comes up to you as a flight attendant and says, "Can I please sing a Disney song over the PA?" You should never say yes.
People were saying online that she must have, like, the family must have known the flight attendant, because like that's like the conspiracy, because like which flight attendant in their right mind would be like, yeah, let's just let this 10-year-old commandeer the PA.
Like I don't blame the kid. I feel terrible for her actually, because she's being exposed to like mass internet shaming, and unfortunately like shit like that becomes memes. And look at like, God, what was that girl's name? She was a meme. She was like the obsessed girlfriend. Do you remember that meme?
Yeah.
That, I mean, she is still got some kind of like active online presence, but that is very much part of her persona. Like she kind of can't deny it. So she just has to lean into it, that was just a thing that happened with a random video she put up on the internet, not intending for that to come out of it at all.
Yeah.
So like, this sucks for this girl. I really feel for her.
Yeah. And I think it's tough. Well, it's tough because like, obviously, like if you're a parent, you automatically think your child is talented, probably more so than normal people. And they probably, I mean, like you could tell like this girl's probably like a little theater kid in the making. She has all this confidence. And the parents are bolstering that. But the reality is that the world can be mean. And this was a tough lesson to learn at a young age.
So
you know, that not everybody's going to be happy to hear you sing. But again, like the real issue here is that it was forced on. Like you could not just like keep walking by.
Right.
It's not like, you know, like when you see like a busker in the subway, nobody's telling you that you have to like stay there until that person's done. You get to walk away whenever you're ready.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's not a great lesson for a child to say, yes, here you have this captive audience. They can't escape you. Right. Great time. Like, it's just not a good lesson for the kid, not a good experience for the kid. So
and we see these clips go viral, not with children starring in them, but we've seen adults singing songs or playing a guitar on board. This never goes over well. So flight attendants should know this isn't going to go over well. The one saving grace here is it sounds like the plane, it was a Delta flight, It was heading into Orlando. So maybe, they're going to Disney World. Everybody on the plane might be going to Disney World, or at least a lot of them are. So let's have her sing the song. Like, I can kind of see that reasoning making sense. Delta did release a statement too, by the way. They said, "We appreciate the customer sharing her talents and apologize to our customers for the delay in their travels." Not for the singing, for the delay in their travels. Don't want to insult the girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Britt in the Discord is saying Gen Z always cites being mocked / canceled on the internet as part of their anxiety over doing the wrong thing. I agree, but I feel like Gen Z needs to take some accountability for the fact that they've also normalized this behavior in a very weird way. So it's kind of like they opted in and now they got to lie in the bed they made. Yeah. I don't think it's right, but I do think that there's some blame here to be placed there.
So Laura, it's not right to make fun of this little girl. She's young. She doesn't know what she was getting into, but is there somebody,
of her parents?
Yeah. And is there somebody we can criticize here up front?
Joni Ernst is a senator from Idaho. Remind me, Andrew, click the story. Iowa, thank you. Yeah. No, I see it right here. So she's a senator from Iowa, and she was doing a town hall in which her constituents were pretty loudly pushing back against the, big, beautiful bill and all of the major cuts that it is going to bring to Medicaid and Medicare, and the tens of thousands of people who are going to lose coverage, lose access to programs like SNAP for food stamps and things like that. And a member of the audience shouted out, "People are going to die." And Joni Ernst's response to that was, "Well, we're all gonna die." So,
yeah,
not a great look. So in the wake of this, there is someone who has announced that they will be challenging Joni Ernst in her upcoming Senate race. So we'll have to keep an eye on this guy, JD Scholten. Sorry, the cursor was in the middle of it, so I was like, Shane, oh God, is that someone else we know? So JD Scholten is going to challenge her in the Iowa Senate race.
Good. I mean, this has a lot of people upset. The answer to people's very valid concerns about Medicaid should not be, well, you're all going to die anyway, so why not die sooner rather than later? I'm paraphrasing the second part, but that's basically what she's saying.
Right back at you, bitch.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Like, Jesus, and like, then, you also have socialized medicine as a member of Congress, so must be easy for you to say.
Well, right. And she also double and tripled down on these remarks. She posted on her Instagram story very sarcastically apologizing for breaking the news to everybody that they're all going to die. And I'm pretty sure she also filmed this video while in a cemetery. At least that's what it looked like in the background. So that part was kind of funny, I'll admit. But yeah, so it's nice to see somebody stepping up and running against her after she made these dumbass remarks. And this is the type of help you get from Republicans. They care about you until you're out of the womb. And then, whatever, kid, you're going to die anyways.
Yeah, pull yourself up by your bootstraps.
Mm-hmm. Well, listeners, we're grateful for all of you. We don't want you to die anytime soon. We also don't like reminding you that you're going to die at some point. This show is brought to you by listeners like you. Was that a good transition? I don't know. I'll put that at like a C-.
There you go.
Visit patreon.com/millennial to support us for as little as $5 per month. And you can get instant access to perks like After Dark. This week, we'll be discussing when the right time is to move in with your partner and some horror stories we've heard when people move in together, maybe sooner than they should have. You also get access to ad-free episodes of Millennial. You'll get access to our live streams and a whole lot more. And by the way, when you become a pal, you'll be able to listen to all of our bonus audio content right within your favorite podcast app.
Visit patreon.com/millennial and get started today with a 7-day free trial to check out all of our bonus content, including After Dark, and annual subscription discounts are also available.
Other ways to support us include visiting shop.millennialshow.com, where you can pick up official show gear, telling a fellow millennial about the show, and also making sure you're following us in all of your favorite podcast apps.
Coming up after the break, does size or smell matter? We'll discuss that when we talk about dating deal breakers. We'll be right back. Tinder is making headlines right now because they have begun testing a heights filter, and people are wondering if this is too far of a filter to be adding to Tinder because, you know, you're born with your height. You can't control that. People shouldn't be able to shut you out so easily because you're too short, too tall. And we thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about our Born This Way deal breakers. And we also asked patrons for what their deal breakers are as well. So Tinder Gold and Premium subscribers who have seen this height filter test will have access to the feature for now. Free users will not. In addition, the setting will indicate a preference. You can set a height preference. You can't be like, I want people only below 6'5". It's going to be a little more abstract than that. And Tinder really has already done damage to the dating scene by emphasizing looks first through this swiping model. I mean, do you two ever watch your friends swiping through Tinder today?
I mean,
they move so
I've been
fast.
Guilty of doing that myself.
Yeah, I am
because you
too.
think it's a game.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
I would get bored by the swiping. Like I would, and maybe it was like the ADD or something, but I would just I would start and then I would get distracted by something else that was more interesting to me than like the Tinder profiles.
The millionth person you've seen on the app for the day. Yeah.
I think I got desensitized, honestly. I think that's what it does to you. Like when you're like chronically swiping through people like that.
Yeah.
It does become easier to get nitpicky.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. It's such a shame. I know, of course, looks matter. They're an important factor. But at the same time, it's such a shame that that's what Tinder and these other dating apps have turned dating into, because you might be missing out on some incredible people, and all because you spent 1/10 of a second looking at somebody and making a snap judgment and not giving them a chance. It's sad. It really is.
I think that people just kind of need to remember that like, did you guys ever have an experience like maybe when you were still in school where like maybe you weren't attracted to somebody, but then you spent time with them in the class and all of a sudden like halfway through you're like, oh, I think I have a little crush on this person that I was like not attracted to. Then all of a sudden like they were very attractive to you.
Right.
So I think that like that's how it used to be. And it's hard for people to remember that because especially once you get out of school, there's not a lot of opportunity for you to get to know someone. Although that happens in the workplace too sometimes, you know, but with so many people working from home or wanting to, there's probably less opportunity for that to happen organically. Yeah.
And you also probably don't want to be doing that shit where you eat or basically like don't shit where you eat. Don't date people at work
one time and then usually never again.
Yeah. I also found this very interesting study as reported on by Glam about height bias in dating. Glam says that the height bias in dating is very bad. Various studies examining women's height requirements for romantic partners indicate that preferences lean quite tall. A study published in Personality and Individual Differences in 2013 concluded that most women want a partner who is 8 inches taller than them. To put that into context, the average height of a woman in the US is around 5 feet 4 inches, while the average height for men is 5 feet 9 inches per the CDC. So based on those numbers, a man needs to be 6 feet tall, 3 inches taller than average, to have a better chance of dating the average woman. The height bias becomes even more pronounced on dating apps. Going back to the earlier days of online dating, a 2005 study published by the University of Chicago showed that men who said they were 6 feet 3 inches got 60% more messages than their 5 feet 7 inch tall counterparts. More recently, the dating app Millionaire Match shared that men who were 6 feet tall had the highest success rate for matches per Business Wire. What do you make of that?
Okay, I know that this is like a sore spot for men specifically, but I also have to believe that men must be biased about height as well, because then why would you always have these like 6 feet plus guys dating these like 4'9", 5'2" girls.
Yeah.
And I know this for a fact because my best friend is 6'2" and she struggles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and also like men lie about their height all the time.
Yeah.
I'm the shortest in my family. My brothers are all but like between like 6 feet and 6'3".
Yeah.
So like if you tell me you're 6'2" and then my best friend being 6'2" and we meet, I will know if you're telling the truth or not.
There will be people lying about their height on Tinder going forward, if they're not already, which they probably are.
There's so many of them are. And my friend tells me this all the time when she goes out dating. She's like, they don't believe that she's 6'2". And then she meets them and she's like, you're not 6'4" because you're shorter than me and I'm 6'2".
Man, I don't understand why people lie about that, because if you meet up in person, it's going to be very apparent that you lied. Like,
right.
Yeah, you know what though? This is a trend with photos as well. People will use these like heavily photoshopped images in their dating profiles. And it's like, when you meet in person, you're not going to look that good. I know somebody who uses very old photos in his dating profile, and then you see the present day him, it looks nothing like that.
Yeah. And I think that if you don't look like the photo you're putting up, then that's not great either.
Yeah.
I actually, I think that this is like multiple, like more radio stations in the nation probably have a similar version of this, but out here in the Bay Area, one of the stations does second date update. And so that like somebody will call in and be like, I had a good date and this person ghosted me and want to find out why. So they call up the person and they ask them what happened. And they recently did one where guy was like, I don't know what happened with this girl, but I really liked her. They called her up and she was like, well, he looked nothing like his pictures and that, you know, he was a little heavier and that's fine, but I just wish that he wouldn't have lied about that. And he's like, well, I know I gained weight, but I want to get back to how I looked. So I used those pictures because that's what I want to look like. And I was like, that's fine. But like,
man, but that's
it's great
false
that that's
advertising.
like a goal for you. Yeah, exactly. It's like, but did not even like, they could not convince this guy that it was wrong to do that.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fine if that's aspirational for you, but you cannot get on a dating app and tell people that's what you look like when you don't look like that anymore.
Yeah.
And it must have been a significant amount, like at least 20 pounds or more for this person to be like, you didn't look like you said you did.
And instead of using your dating profile as your vision board, print those out at home, hang them on your fridge, and use that as your
motivation.
Source of inspiration.
Exactly. It's like, yeah, she was so nice about it too. Anyway, but yeah, it's like everybody lies and and that sucks.
How tall are both of you?
I'm 5'5".
I'm 5'6".
Okay, I should have guessed.
Yeah.
Guess how tall I am.
Seem taller than you think?
Yes, I would honestly say that. Yeah,
really.
Though I don't see you too often.
How tall would you assume that we are?
I'd say at least 5'7", each of you. I know I'm taller than both of you, but
how tall are you?
You must be like 5. You must be like 5'10".
Laura,
are you like 5'10"?
Yeah, 5'10".
Yeah, you're.
Okay.
I was gonna say you and Mark are about the same height.
Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of right in the middle. I think I'm definitely an average height. I don't think I could date somebody over like 6'2", 6'3", maybe. Pat's 5'11". I think he's just slightly taller than me. But the whole like having to like reach up for a kiss stuff like that or like a hug. I know somebody who's 6'9", and when you have to hug that person, you're basically climbing a tree. Like that's tough.
Yeah, well, that's when you have to go for the waist as the tinier person.
Yeah.
Like you can't go this way.
Hug their tummy.
You have to go.
I love you, tummy.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been forever ago, but I dated a guy who was like well over 6, like he was kind of freakishly tall. I don't remember exactly how tall, but it was very much that situation, Andrew, where like, if you're both standing up, kissing is not really a natural, like, movement to make because you're not close enough in height to be able to do that. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, it just has to be a status symbol at that point, right? Because it doesn't it doesn't actually do anything. Right. And I think it's just men being self-conscious about their height and women being self-conscious about the message that it might send if they're with a man that's shorter than they are.
Yeah. So James is chiming in on our Discord right now. He's listening live. He says that he's 5'7" and his husband is 6'3". So that's what, about a 7-8 inch difference. And then he says he has to stoop to kiss me. Cuddling in bed can be difficult because of our height differences. Even holding hands in public isn't comfortable because our arm lengths are different. So we have to hold our hands weird. These are mostly little things in the grand scheme of things, though. But also everywhere we live has to have vaulted ceilings per his rule. Yeah. I have to think sex might be a little tricky sometimes. Maybe
it depends on the torso length, honestly.
Yeah, I'm just the main thing I'm thinking of is like 69ing, what that experience is like. James, what is 69ing?
Depend on the torso length, because if you have that's really the only part that matters.
Right. Like if somebody is just tall because they're very leggy, like all their height is in their legs, probably not a problem.
Yeah. But if you have somebody with like a tiny torso, like think of like Mike Wazowski from Monsters, Inc.
That's what I fantasize about, actually. So that's a great reference.
The other person has like a long torso, that you're fucked.
Mike Wazowski. Holy shit. What a weird analogy.
I was just trying to think of like, it's like, what is Andrew gonna like understand? It's like Andrew will know a Disney reference.
Yeah, a one-eyed monster from Monsters Inc.
But like some people are all leg and kind of torso.
Yeah. Mike Wazowski.
Anyway, I honestly like, I feel like I'm so used to being around tall people because my family is very tall. To me, it doesn't it feels like normal.
Yeah.
And it also feels like normal to like date taller people.
Yeah. When y'all have been on dating apps, like what type of filters were you applying? Because I don't feel like I have any born this way filters. Maybe I would have tried to filter out like 6'6" and above or something. And by the way, I get my feelings hurt today too, because I feel like I'm getting filtered out on Bumble BFF because now I'm a 36-year-old grandpa and I'm seeing some like, upper 20, lower 30-year-old people, and they don't want anything to do with a 36-year-old.
Yeah.
So I feel the pain.
Say it's mostly the age thing. Like age. I think age is important in general.
Yeah. I think I would need somebody who isn't sober. I know I was talking about that a couple weeks ago, and I know sober people can still be fine, but I think I need somebody who I can go out for a drink with. So that's somewhat important to me. Marijuana, I'm increasingly not a fan of, to be honest with you. Sorry, Laura, we're not going on a date. I just don't think it benefits anybody.
I don't know what you're implying, but that's fine. I don't think you're buying what I'm selling anyway, so it all works out.
Of course, smoking cigarettes too. That would definitely be a deal breaker for me.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think they let you really filter out by that though. Do they on dating apps?
It's a good question.
I think they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know on Bumble, like they have that stuff listed.
Yeah. So then you can like swipe real quick if you see that, right?
I was just typing Tinder into my phone like it was going to load up. I don't have Tinder. I just gotta look at their filters.
I'm not on the dating apps right now, but if and when I do go on them, for me, like at this point, it's like age and then political affiliation, and like the biggest red flag is somebody saying they're not political, because you have an opinion, you're a lying liar who lies. Like this, there's no way you don't have an opinion on anything.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I very similar to y'all. I would always steer clear of cigarette smokers, conservatives, those who, claimed to not do politics. Cause that's a bunch of bullshit. I would say people who were very clear about like wanting children, because I knew, and I still know that's not something I want. And also if it was someone who didn't like dogs, cause there are usually like match questions they ask you on these things. And so it's stuff like, is the dog allowed to sleep in the bed? And if the person is like, ew, no, gross, I'm like, funny. That's how I feel about you. I don't think we'll be a match.
Canella
Sorry.
is in the bed. You're on the floor.
Yeah. Listen, she has been in my life longer, so she takes priority.
Hell yeah.
Do you know, speaking of children, I'm actually like surprised by like how many people I know in my personal life who like for whom it's not a deal breaker if somebody has children already. And it's mostly like younger people, which I think that's great. I mean, like one of my brothers has a kid. He's a single dad. And he has her half the time. And he met his girlfriend when he already had my niece. So like the fact that she was okay with it, I think is a pretty big deal because she's a little bit younger than he is. She must be about like 27 or so or something like that.
Okay.
I think they're not quite 30 yet. So
yeah.
Or he might be. And I don't think she quite is, but I feel like it's just, it's interesting that it's such a non-deal breaker. And it specifically surprises me. I feel like this might be a stereotype when it's younger men that don't mind. It's just because I think that the common stereotype is like that, guys in their mid 20s don't want to be tied down to like somebody with a kid. But I know a few people that like are dating women that have children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think some of that is like a lack of life experience, maybe making them a little overconfident?
Maybe.
In making that commitment, because it's a big commitment to make.
It is a big commitment. And also it's like, if it doesn't work out, that kid like is attached to you because so like my niece's mother already had a child when they started dating. She had a little boy and the little boy was very attached to my brother. And my brother's very good with kids, so he didn't mind. But I always think about how hard it must have been for that little boy when things didn't work out with his mom and my brother, because all of a sudden it was like he was basically like acting as his dad, and he was maybe like 3 when they were dating and she was coming around with him. So it's a huge adjustment.
Yeah. I think I would be open to the possibility of being a step parent, obviously in some hypothetical like alternate universe. But the kids would have to be older for me to feel cool stepping in on that. Like I don't want to be part of the child rearing process. I think my preference would be for them to be like their own people and like not feel like they have to call me mom or anything. Like I feel like that's the only way I could see it working for me.
Yeah. So we also asked patrons, what are your born this way dating deal breakers? Tiara said, for me, I don't like a lot of body hair on a partner. No back carpets or butt muffs. Please take care of your nether regions. I don't want to be flossing teeth while I'm down there. Oh. Did y'all see those paparazzi photos of Travis Kelce's back a couple weeks ago? Very hairy.
No. Oh.
Somebody quote tweeted it. It was like, this is how you know Taylor Swift's a real woman.
Listen, I don't know why people were surprised because like usually if men are very like hairy chested, they probably like have hairy back and they're just waxing it. Like
he's a football player.
I don't know why that was a surprise.
Because that bear is dating Taylor Swift. It just didn't seem...
I know. I'm just saying, like, I don't know why it was a surprise to people. Like, if somebody has a hairy chest, they probably are hairy all over. Just sorry to burst the bubble if people aren't thinking about it that way, but
I'm with Tiara though. Too much body hair is definitely a deal breaker for me. And some straight men, and no, plenty of gay guys do it too. Just totally unkempt hair is just a mess.
Well, the other thing too is like for straight men, so many of them want to police women's body hair, and it's like if you're expecting your girlfriend or like prospective partner to keep things trimmed, then you better do the same damn thing.
This is the type of commentary you're only getting on women-led podcasts.
Well, the same goes for gays, right? If you're keeping it trim, he should be keeping it trim.
Right. You don't hear Joe Rogan talking about this.
Yeah. It's just reciprocity. At the end of the day, it's just reciprocity. So important.
Katie said, I am a tall female, 5'10", and have always hated my height. I have always been attracted to tall men as I just want to feel small or petite in their arms. Oh, I wish I didn't feel this way, but I just find I immediately lose interest in men shorter than me.
Yeah, maybe you just haven't met the right short king yet. But I think if you met the right person, it wouldn't matter as much to you. But I understand. I will say, like, we always want what we don't have, because I think tall women are like objectively gorgeous, and I'm so envious. Like, my whole life I've wished I was taller. So.
Aw.
Really?
Yeah.
I always want to be shorter. And I'm not even that tall. It's because I get told, like, oh my gosh, you're so tall, which is so funny because I'm really not. It's just half my family is very short.
Maybe you two can meet some mystical wizard who can take out some of Pam's height and put it into Laura.
Can take, like,
that's probably
3
thing,
inches.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they do have those surgeries for men to make them taller. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
God, those are horrifying.
That is, like, too painful. Nobody do that. It's not worth it. That sounds awful.
Your body will never be the same. Don't.
Some men are really insecure about their height, though, and I can understand that.
I get it because it's like I know for a fact I have rejected people that are shorter than I at some point deemed like too short. Well, my opinion on height has changed a lot as I've gotten older.
Carson said, height is a practical one for me. I noticed it was hard to hold hands or do other things when a guy was maybe 5 to 6 inches shorter than me. That said, hitting a taller than me threshold was never a priority. I will say, especially during my Hinge days, filters like drinking, weed, etc. also became important. Maybe not physical per se, but pivotal to figuring out whether someone's lifestyle would fit with mine or not. Tammy said, I had many requirements. This was in 2001 in Israel. I specified Ashkenazi, which I got some hate for, 5'10" for height, master's degree from a specific place called the Technion, and age above 30. My now husband did not come up on my list, but did send me a message. He was 31 and 5'8". Did have a master's from the Technion, had a good job as a computer engineer, already bought a house before we met. He told me he wanted to immigrate to the US on the first date. I said, yes, please. We had been married 22 years.
Wow.
Tammy, that's a great success story. You admitted to yourself you have many requirements. I think a lot of people who have a lot of requirements probably need to rethink all those requirements.
Yeah. And proof that like sometimes like there are exceptions to the rules that you think you have.
Yeah.
My whole thing is like people can put in all the filters they want on these dating apps, but they're going to realize real quick that like the more parameters they put in, the less people that are going to come up. So it's like, are you okay with like a very small pool, or would you rather expand your dating pool?
And you might realize that you like some people outside of your dating pool.
Yeah. And the other thing to consider too is that, and Mark was actually saying this to me earlier when I was telling him about the episode we were doing, you know, if somebody is going to filter based on, you know, those born in like filters where it's like your height, your race, all of these things. If they're going to filter based on that, let them, because then you're not going to have to deal with that person because they're not going to find you.
Education level too, I feel like is that's getting a little nitpicky because I don't think you can measure education always necessarily by a diploma.
No.
But some people are so like, I've had like friends tell me before, like, I need somebody that has at least gone through higher education, you know? And it's like, well, that's great. But if you like, why would you feel like you can't converse with somebody or like relate to somebody that hasn't? Like I only did my undergrad, you know, and like, we're just fine.
Yeah.
And then I know people that like didn't even finish college and they're some of the smartest people I know. So
yes, exactly. When I went to grad school, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to meet like my perfect like intellectual man here. And spoiler alert, that did not happen. And it was just really hard for me, at least, to bridge that gap in that kind of like highly academic environment where it very much was like sink or swim. So I didn't personally feel like I had time for any of that. So I feel like it's kind of presumptuous to think you're going to find a large pool of people who are in that world who will be able to make the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just not realistic.
So setting aside the fact that I'm a dropout, ended up doing pretty well. I know a couple of people here in town who also dropped out and are far more successful than me. They have amazing, let's call them traditional careers in very respected fields. I would spend some time, Tammy, and others who are listening, and maybe find education to be a top priority, to meet some people who are successful who didn't go through a typical college career, or maybe even dropped out of high school.
Well, it's like, I know it's not something I know, like, I'm not saying you hide it, but I feel like if somebody was just talking to you, they would probably never know that you didn't,
Who, me?
Get a 4-year degree.
Yeah. I mean, one news article did claim that I got a degree from CSU Fullerton. So for all intents and purposes, I did graduate from CSU Fullerton.
I do just want to add, Tammy is in our Discord and just clarified it's a Jewish thing to want a highly educated partner. So I know that can be a cultural component as well for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think we're just saying that, like, intelligence sometimes, like, can't be measured by how much education you are able to afford, honestly, especially in this country.
Yep.
There are a lot of people that are highly intelligent. They just can't afford to go higher than, a master's or even less than. So,
yeah. Roshni is also pitching in that it's also very Asian. So, I mean, again, I think it's a commonality.
Like the stereotype where, like, immigrants always want their kids to get a business degree.
Yeah.
So.
A couple more here. John said, I don't have a lot of physical deal breakers, just as long as you are healthy and take care of your body, i.e. diet, exercise, grooming, hygiene. Also, don't be a Trump supporter.
Yep, that part.
Taylor said, not a lot of physical ones. I prefer men on the taller side, as I am 5'7", but I dated men the same height. Non-physical is no smoking of any kind. Smoke gives me migraines, and our politics need to match. And finally, Riley said, I'm nearly 36 and I don't think I have many. No one under 30, trying your best at a good diet and hygiene, good morals and ethics and values. We all grow and change over time, and stuff happens, / comes up, but just do your best, given your knowledge, skills, and resources is all they need. I like that. That's a good way to look at it, Riley.
Yeah, that's really nice.
That's really healthy.
All right, well, we're all going to re-download Tinder and set some filters and see what we find. And when we come back, we're going to
take a nostalgic trip down accessory memory lane. So this week I wanted to talk about nostalgic campaigning, and specifically because Lancôme has a new advertisement that is directly targeting millennials and really hitting all of us with the nostalgia on multiple fronts. So they actually ended up tapping a slew of 2000s Y2K heartthrobs for their latest web campaign, and it's all to celebrate 25 years of Juicy Tube's lip gloss, which I know many of us will probably be familiar with. The series of ads dropped on May 20th, or they started dropping around the end of last month, and it features stars like Paris Hilton, Hilary, Duff, and also Gossip Girl's Ed Westwick, who played Chuck Bass on the show. And in it, they're just reminiscing on their favorite colors and flavors of the lip gloss and ruminating over what the smell makes them think back on. And I thought that this was a really smart way to not only celebrate 25 years of Juicy Tube's lip gloss, but also to, like, bring it back into the cultural zeitgeist. So, and I also think it was really smart to get men in on this campaign. So I think Andrew's going to play the audio for the one featuring Ed Westwick.
Yeah.
Indulge me. Let's take a stroll down memory lane to a time of debauchery. Let's face it, the Upper East Side was built on 3 things: scandal, secrets, and this. Status symbol. Marshmallow Electro. One whiff of this, and I'm transported. 2007, a vintage year. Truly electric. Every kiss, a wager, a thrill. The taste and the aroma. Fast track back to a certain limo. A time machine to... I'm Chuck Bass. Some truths are universal. Kisses are better with juicy tubes. Certainly more memorable. But the real question remains. Most iconic accessory of the 2000s? The scarf? Or juicy tubes? Let the debates begin.
These feel like ads developed by Don Draper on Mad Men.
Yeah,
right.
Kind of. It is a very smart campaign.
Mm-hmm.
Well, as Roshni's bringing up right now, they still make those? And I think that's probably part of the reason for this campaign, to remind y'all that they still exist.
Yeah. So had either of you seen these ads floating around online? Like I said, there's so many celebrities that they tapped for this. And I feel like the variety was very smart.
Yeah, I've only seen the Chuck Bass one, the Ed Westwick one. That's the one that I've seen like everywhere, kind of.
Yeah, they are worth looking up. I think like the Hilary Duff one is especially cute because they have a little animated grown-up version of her. So they're like playing homage to Lizzie McGuire without actually saying it's Lizzie McGuire because that would be copyright infringement. So yeah, it's super fun. And even though it obviously is an ad and it reads like an ad, I think that the reality is that like because this is such a nostalgic touchstone for so many millennials, there's some truth to it. Like as soon as Ed Westwick said Marshmallow Electro, like I could smell that lip gloss because I had that, and I could like feel the texture of it because it was a little bit glittery and it was like super gritty and thick on the mouth. Yeah, it was a time capsule basically.
It really was. And it wasn't like, I don't want to shit on them or anything. It wasn't like the best lip gloss I've ever used, but it was iconic for how glossy it was. Like, I feel like at the time we just all wanted our mouths to look wet. I feel like that was the goal.
Yeah. And you would like cake it on.
Oh my God.
So hard. Yeah. And your hair would always get stuck to it. Yeah. It was really excessive. And did you remember seeing like girls whip like lip glosses out and stuff like that?
I was going to say
you probably were paying too much attention to girls. But
no, I wasn't. But all the wetness was that like, oh, the boys are going to like this. My wet lips for a kiss.
Well,
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know that I had a conscious awareness of that being what it was, but I think it had to be some kind of subliminal messaging that we were all getting is like prepubescent teenagers. Yeah, exactly. And it's like we didn't know yet like why they were sexy.
Yeah.
But
right. I think like honestly, like realistically, not great for kissing.
No.
If you were slathering it on as poorly as we were when we were like 13 years old, right?
Right.
But the taste, perhaps.
The taste was so good on some of these.
I feel like I can still smell it too. Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually probably the number one indicator that none of us were doing very much kissing based on how much of that shit we had caked on all the time. Like,
yeah.
Right. Because as soon as you started doing that, you were like, oh, wait.
Yeah. I had a friend who would, she would put like one flavor on the top lip and then one flavor on the bottom lip.
Oh my God.
And then they were like equally as thick, you know, because it always had to be like a thick layer. It could never be like a normal amount.
Yeah, because if you were buying it, you got to show it off, right? You got to make sure everybody sees it.
Exactly. Well, that was part of it too. Was like, you know, like we always talk about how like women's jeans, like they never had good pockets, but that tiny little pocket that served like absolutely no use was great for a lip gloss, like a Juicy Tubes, and that's where
the lip gloss pocket.
It was the lip gloss pocket.
Yeah. Man, this is taking me back. Camille is saying in Discord, your mouth needed to be gloopy or it was wrong. And that is so right. Like I would go through lip gloss so quickly back in the day.
Yeah.
Like Pam, did you frequently empty your tubes out because you were using too much of it?
Yeah,
I know I did.
It was either that or I would lose them because of that tiny pocket. Right. And so, yes, but like, the Juicy Tubes have always been expensive because Lancôme is the high-end brand, right? I'm talking about like $30 for a lip gloss, and they're probably still $30-$40, right?
Yeah.
But like the cheaper ones, I would probably go. I mean, I probably went through the Juicy Tubes fast too, but it's just like it wasn't as easy to replace. Caboodles was the brand that I would always use with like the little beads in them. I don't know if you remember.
I remember
Caboodles.
those. I was a big fan of Lip Smackers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? Was it Smackers
yeah.
or Smuckers? I'm not remembering which.
Yeah, because they had the regular chapstick too.
Yes,
Mhm.
they had chapsticks, but they also had glosses, and they had them in all kinds of like fun colors and stuff. I always used to get really taken by the glosses that had like you're saying, Pam, like beads or like little like adornments floating around in them, like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just like, oh, it's so pretty and cool.
It's like there was like they didn't do anything. They served absolutely no purpose, but you wanted them. Roshni's saying I had 5 lip glosses I'd layer to get the right glossy look. Lol. Yeah, that was the move. Well, looking back on our childhood and teenage years, was there an accessory that kind of felt like it gave you some real social currency among your peers, or just really made you feel cool for whatever reason? I think we talked a little bit about Juicy Tubes already. I know that was bigger when I got into high school. I think it was like, you know, like you leveled up from the Lip Smackers or the Caboodles, and that was a big deal. But
I think for me, and also I would just say, bear in mind, I only went to public school through the 9th grade. So like 10th through 12th grade, I was homeschooled. But in my middle school years in particular, lip gloss kind of was a form of social currency. Like you really always felt like you came in clutch if someone was looking for lip gloss, like if someone was having a lip gloss emergency and you could be there to save the day. I legitimately, it's like burned into my memory. One of my friends that I've known since we were like 11 years old. I remember her coming up to me in the hallway and being like, oh my God, like X, Y, and Z boy that I really want to talk to. Like he's going to be walking by at this exact time. I need to put on some lip gloss. Can I borrow some? Like, and I just remember the drama of that moment of being like, oh my God, yes, girl, I got you. And how cool it felt to be able to like be her savior in that moment. There was a lot of that going on in my school. I don't know if like the unnecessary levels of drama for like, you know, regular goings on were happening for you, Pam. But that's what it was like growing up in Cumming, Georgia. We didn't have a lot going on.
I don't think so, but we did all used to like go into the bathroom and like share the makeup, whoever had like the best makeup. So like Hard Candy used to do these like glitter eyeliners, and like those were big. But like as far as like clothing and stuff, I think that my school was really big on 3/4 zip fleece sweaters, like from Old Navy, and then also Gap logo sweaters were really big.
For me, the status symbols were having a cell phone at the time, because that wasn't a guarantee, but also just showing up with Starbucks. I didn't get into coffee till maybe 8th grade, maybe not even till high school. Actually, yeah, I think it was high school. Yeah, it was high school. Most of the kids were all into coffee and I wasn't yet, but I just still remember seeing all those green strawed cups around school. And I never understood it at the time.
In middle school, it was Jamba Juice, because they had just opened a Jamba Juice in my town.
Uh-huh.
And then later on in high school, it was to your point, Starbucks.
As an aside, these days I always avoid Starbucks, Chipotle's, etc. that are like right next to schools, because they just get swarmed with the fucking kids. I saw a Chipotle open up nearby, right across the street from a high school. I'm like, I'm never going there.
And high school kids have no concept of like how much space they take up either. It's like the world is theirs to run through.
And they're loud.
It's insane.
And they overstay their welcome. Absolutely avoiding that true. Chipotle. Hopefully it's good for Chipotle's bottom line, but ain't good for me.
Man, I just have to say, hearing about both of your experiences makes me feel like I was robbed, because like this was not my world. My public school experience in Cumming, Georgia. Like if I had showed up to school with a Starbucks in hand, I would not have been allowed to bring that inside. They would have made me throw it away. Like that was not a thing. You would not have found our trash cans littered with green Starbucks cups. Like it just wouldn't have happened.
We used to ditch and go to Starbucks. It was right across the street from high school.
Ditch how? What do you mean? Like leave
We
school
would
early
ditch
for the
class.
day?
Yeah.
Oh, ditch class.
Yeah, and go to Starbucks. Or like it wasn't really ditching. We just like misproperly used this was like the last 2 years of high school. I did this like academy program that was like it was like a block of 3 classes all together, and they gave us these like universal hall passes that like let us go off campus when we needed to, because part of it was like doing interviews for video content and stuff like that. And we would like constantly use those to just go get coffee or to go get lunch early.
Damn.
From like In and Out or something, so we could beat the rush.
I feel like if kids in my school were leaving school grounds during the school day, we would be suspended. Like they took that shit really seriously in my school.
You didn't have off-campus lunch?
No.
Oh, you guys probably went to one of those schools that was like all inside, right?
Yeah. It was, yeah, and in the boonies,
we had an outdoor
like
school.
you couldn't really like walk to a restaurant. I mean, you could drive.
It was very, very quintessential California. Our school was like indoor, outdoor, so you were like outside anyway.
So when I was telling somebody this recently, in my high school, when you got into when you became a junior, that's when you could drive your own car to school. But at the end of the school day, the kids who drove, who were placed in a separate parking lot, they could not leave until the school buses left school for the day. And the reason for that was because if they didn't have that rule, the kids would be running out of the school as the final bell rang and trying to beat the buses out of the school. So they locked down the parking lots at the school for the kids until the buses got out.
That's so annoying.
Wow.
I think it was a smart strategy, but yeah, as kids, we didn't. I mean, I was the loser staying after school every day to work in my TV tech studio. So I was never trying to get home as soon as the bell rang. I was living in that TV studio.
Well, I want to pivot from scent to taste for a minute here, because scents can also be incredibly nostalgic. There was actually an article recently in Vox that was talking about the rise in popularity of gourmand scents in the fragrant industry. And for anybody that doesn't know, gourmand scents are edible fragrances. So think like vanilla, marshmallow, caramel, etc. And the fragrance industry says that this in part has to do with nostalgia too. And specifically, the Vox article claims that Gen Z, by and large, enjoys smelling edible or like food because it brings them back to simpler times of childhood where a lot of the Bath and Body products for kids were often scented like food. So think like Dr. Pepper lip smackers, or even like original 90s Bath and Body Works scents like cucumber melon or warm vanilla sugar.
Oh, man.
Laura, were you into food scented things in middle school or high school?
Yeah, I definitely was. And I mean, I will say to an extent I still am, but it's a lot more subtle than it used to be. I actually shared a link here to the perfume that I used to wear in high school, and it was the Pink Sugar. I don't even know.
That bottle is so nostalgic.
Oh, yeah.
I can't believe it's still $45.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, it smelled like liquid cotton candy, honestly. And it was so bad. And I just apologize to anyone who I gave a headache when I was wearing it, because I'm sure that I did. But I will say now I'm definitely into like warm scents. So I definitely love a vanilla that's like more of a food inspired one. I also, my shampoo and conditioner smell like cookies, and you can pry it from my cold dead fingers because they smell amazing. My
scent of choice when I was this age where you were using the Pink Sugar was Country Apple body mist from Bath and Body Works. And I would spray it on my hair a lot, so that like, cause I always had long hair. So like whenever my hair would move, like it would smell like Country Apple. So, yeah, that was a big one for sure. And like, I feel like if I like if I smelled it now, I would recognize it. But like other than that, like the popular fragrance of choice at my school was Love Spell by Victoria's Secret, and I still can't smell that without being transported back.
Oh yeah, that is definitely one that I remember. I feel like one summer everyone came back and everyone was fucking wearing it.
And then like when you would have gym, it would be even worse because every girl would come out smelling like Love Spell because like there would be like one girl with the big bottle and like spraying everyone down. Like, does anybody want a spray down?
Anyone want a touch
Very
of
nice, like
the
sisterhood?
Love spell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the gym,
Andrew,
yeah, I was just going to
Andrew,
say,
if you smelled it, you would be like, I do remember this smell. I swear to God.
I believe it.
It's like, yeah, it just infiltrated every school in the 2000s.
Well, speaking of the gym, I just remember the Axe body spray. Every kid had it, but we all had different scents. And then, you know, in the locker room after gym, we stripped down to our ugly 90s boxers and we all reapply the Axe body spray. And God, I still can remember that smell just stinking up the locker rooms, which smell bad anyway.
Okay, like, listen, I feel like you would know. Did they actually smell different? Or do they all smell the same? Axe body spray.
Maybe there was a certain like underlying layer that they all had in common, but I think they smelled different. Yeah.
I always thought they just smelled like kind of generic.
They smelled like boy to you too.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
The thing about it too was I feel like it was usually mixed with BO. Like I feel like
sharp scent.
We were just using it to cover up our BO instead of properly showering. Well, for the record, I properly showered. I'm talking about
in the case of the guy that used to sit in front of me in Spanish class, the smoke from all the cigarettes he would smoke before class.
Awful. Yeah, the combination of any kind of fragrance like cologne, perfume with BO or cigarette smoke or any other kind of smoke, like it's just not a good combination. I think that'll give anyone a headache.
It's like when you go into an Uber today and the Uber driver clearly is a smoker and then he's got an air freshener to try and cover it up. It never works. Never, ever.
No. And it makes it worse, honestly. I think it makes it worse.
Oh, yeah. I agree, actually.
Yeah. It's weird because in a very strange way, I do find the smell of like cigarettes that have attempted to be covered up as nostalgic because I grew up with a lot of relatives that were smokers. On my grandma's side. And so like I kind of like attribute that smell, like that faint cigarette smell, not ashtray, but just like very faint to visiting them when we were younger. Cause it is like a very distinct scent.
I can see that. We also had some relatives when I was younger that when we would visit, they were very clearly smokers, but they would like refrain when we were there, or they would be sure to go outside, but it was very clear they normally smoked inside when no one was around because the house kind of smelled like it, you know.
Yeah. I do love the smell still of pipe tobacco though.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Yeah. What other sort of scents transport us back in time?
I saw a picture of this recently in a meme and I instantly was transported back. The pizza you would get at school for lunch, square slices, too much sauce, not enough cheese. I could still taste that and smell that on my plastic lunch tray with a side of chocolate milk. Don't give me anything healthy, Michelle Obama or RFK.
It has to be in a carton, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Speaking of smells and taste.
It does taste different from a carton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could still open that. I could still see myself opening up that little milk carton.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I always think about stuff like that's like very school centric, probably because that's where we spent most of our time back then. But I think about like the smell of new binders or folders or like your school supplies. I was always the nerd that got excited to go school supply shopping, and I would like meticulously unpack everything, get it packed just so for my first day of school. So like there is something that really transports me back if I like open a folder and I get that whiff of like new folder smell. Is that super weird? Or
No,
do y'all
I
know
get
what
that.
I'm talking about?
There is
that.
this distinct smell for that, for sure.
It's like the smell of a new school year. That's what I think of when I think of those products.
It's like fresh possibilities. I'm going to promise I'm going to make all these resolutions for how great and organized I'm going to be. And it's going to fall apart like 2 weeks in.
Yep, totally. This year, I will get more A's than B's and C's. I swear, Mom, I'm going to do better.
This year, I will beat the school buses out of the parking lot.
Well, listeners, if you have any feedback about this discussion or the topics we discussed earlier today, like if we invented the concept of women-led or gay-led podcasts, you can email millennialshow@gmail.com, or you can visit millennialshow.com to find our contact forms. You can also leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube or DM us on social, whatever is convenient for you. And if you enjoyed this podcast, we would appreciate a review in your favorite podcast app. Time for some recommendations. I recommended earlier noise-canceling headphones. You have to have them for planes. I would recommend a specific brand. I'm a big fan of the Apple AirPod ones, but I hesitate to do that because I know there's plenty of people who don't use Apple products. Just go and try to find some good over-ear noise-canceling headphones, and I think you'll be very happy you did for coffee shops, airplanes, buses, trains, etc. Don't sleep on this idea. This is something that once you go noise canceling, you can never go back.
Agreed. I want to recommend Surprise, something true crime related. It's a short documentary series on Netflix called Cold Case, The Tylenol Murders. This is actually about the string of murders that happened in Chicago in the 80s as a result of poisoned Tylenol bottles with some capsules that were containing cyanide instead of Tylenol. And I knew that this had happened. Like I was aware that this was something that had, caused for new regulation, like tamper resistant bottles and things that we're all familiar with now. But I didn't know all the details of the case and like who all the suspects were, or also that Johnson & Johnson, who makes Tylenol, actually got to, I guess, investigate themselves.
I remember
over the course of this case. So it was just, there were a lot of details about it that I didn't know. I thought it was super interesting.
I remember we spoke about this case on the show a while ago. I forget the context, but we were talking about how changes were made after the Tylenol murders. And I, again, can't remember the context, but since seeing this listed on Netflix, I've been wanting to watch because we have talked about it before. So I'm looking forward to watching it myself.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And what's great about it is it's like 3 episodes and they're like 30 to 40 minutes each. So it is very digestible.
Unlike those Tylenol pills.
Well, they were digestible. They were just the last thing you digested.
Well, since we were talking about fragrances on this episode, I wanted to recommend Dossier for deep fragrances. If you have expensive tastes for designer perfumes like I do, they do a pretty good job of replicating scents for a lot of the larger brands. And it honestly, like a lot of like how long they last on your skin really depends on body chemistry and stuff. So it's worth trying to see if it works for you, and you can save a little bit of money that way. But I know that the reviews are mixed in terms of longevity, so make of that what you will.
After Dark starts in a moment for patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers. Thanks everyone for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.